You know, one of the oldest questions we ask ourselves is, who am I, really? Are we just a product of our environment, kind of pushed and pulled around by forces we can't control? Or do we have something at our core, a built-in nature that guides us? Well, today, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of human nature to explore this very question. Are you truly the primary sculptor of your own life?
So let's start with a question for you to just chew on as we go through this. When you make a decision, a real meaningful choice, are you actually the one in the driver's seat? Or is something else maybe steering the wheel?
All right, let's get right into it.
The heart of this whole debate really comes down to this incredible conflict. On one hand, you've got Stanley Milgram's infamous 1963 experiment. 2/3 of ordinary people followed orders to give what they thought were painful electric shocks to a total stranger. It's a really chilling look at our obedience. But then, on the other hand, you have modern research showing that babies, literal infants, seem to come with a built-in preference for the good guys over the bad guys. So how on earth can both of these things be true? To try and figure this out, let's start with that second finding, this idea of an innate moral compass. You see, the evidence is really starting to pile up, suggesting we are not born as the blank slates that philosophers used to think we were. It seems we actually come pre-installed with some very, very interesting software.
The psychologist Paul Bloom calls these our innate moral foundations. And the big idea here is that these basic moral feelings, well, they aren't taught by our parents or society. They're part of our biological inheritance, a product of evolution, just like our hands or our eyes. We are literally born with a capacity for morality.
And the evidence for this is just fascinating. Researchers put on these simple puppet shows for babies, and time again, infants between 6 and 10 months old will reach for the puppet that helps another character, not the one that gets in the way. Get this, a 1-year-old will even bop the bad puppet on the head. We can see these little glimmers of empathy in newborns who cry when they hear other babies cry, and a basic sense of justice in toddlers who look surprised when things aren't shared fairly. It really seems like we arrive with a moral starter pack.
But this moral starter pack isn't the whole story. Not by a long shot. It's paired with what might just be the most powerful learning machine in the entire universe, the human brain. And the brain's superstar feature is something called neuroplasticity. It's not some fixed circuit board. It's this dynamic, living network that's designed to be shaped by our environment. It literally changes and rewires itself with every single experience you have.
And this number right here just brilliantly illustrates the sheer power of that learning. By the time a child is 3, their brain has around 15,000 connections for every single brain cell. It's twice as active as a typical adult brain. It's why psychologists call children scientists in the crib. They're constantly running experiments, testing ideas, and updating their understanding of the world at this incredible, mind-boggling rate.
So, okay, we've got an innate moral sense, and we've got a superpowered learning brain. It kind of sounds like we're all set up for success, right? Well, this is where the story gets a little more complicated. Now let's flip the coin and explore the other side, the powerful and often totally invisible influence of our environment.
The famous behaviorist psychologist B.F. Skinner, well, he put it pretty bluntly. From his point of view, our choices aren't free at all. He argued that our behavior is almost entirely shaped by a lifetime of rewards and punishments that our environment deals out. We do what we do because we've been conditioned to, not because of some deep, independent choice.
And this brings us right back to Milgram. This chart is such a stark reminder of Skinner's point. When a person in a lab coat, a symbol of authority, told people to keep going, 65 of them did, even when they could hear what sounded like screams of pain. It really suggests that a powerful situation can just overwhelm that innate moral compass we were talking about.
And to make matters even more unsettling, research by the psychologist Elizabeth Loftus shows that even the very foundation of our identity, our memory, is shockingly unreliable. Our memories can be easily warped, twisted, or even completely made up through simple suggestion. If we can't even fully trust our own past, how can we be so sure we're the authors of our present?
So, are we doomed? Are we just puppets of our biology and our environment? Well, not quite. This is where we get to the most uniquely human part of this whole equation, our ability to step back, to reflect, and to use reason. And here is the crucial takeaway. Awareness itself is a tool. Psychologists talk about something called a cognitive vaccine. The idea is that just by learning about the Milgram experiment, just by understanding our natural tendency to obey authority, you are more likely to be able to resist it.
Knowing your own biases is the very first step to overcoming them. Paul Bloom argues that mature moral action really involves a two-step process. First, we start with that innate sentiment, that gut feeling, right? That's the baby preferring the good puppet. But what makes us human is the second step, conscious reason. We have the amazing ability to analyze that gut feeling, to question it, and to build complex, principled ethical systems that go way beyond our initial instincts.
Which brings us to a final, and I think really powerful metaphor for our lives. Let's just be honest with ourselves. We didn't choose the block of stone. We didn't get to pick our genes, our parents, or the environment we were born into. That raw material, it was just given to us. But, and this is the most important part of all, we are the ones holding the chisel. Our capacity for reason, for self-reflection, for making a conscious choice, that is our tool. We are the ones who get to decide how that stone is going to be carved. Every time we overcome an impulse, or question a bias, or make a deliberate choice, we are making another mark with that chisel.
So you see, you're not a blank slate, but you're not a pre-programmed machine either. You're a work in progress, this incredible collaboration between your nature and your choices. The raw material is there, for sure, but the final sculpture, well, that's up to you. Which leaves us with one last question to think about. With reason as your tool, what will you choose to sculpt today?